Hey guys, how you doing? This is Guy here. Welcome to this live. Today, Sunday, May 11th, 2025. It's my pleasure to always come live, bring you in my lab to talk about some fun stuff. Today, we're going to talk about VPN. As you know, KBTrainings was created to share my knowledge and the things that I know. Some of you are still beginners in this field. Some other ones are already advanced. So today we are going to go IP VPN, very beginner's level. And I'm going to tell you what is a VPN, what are the different types of VPN that exist, and how you can use them. And then I'm going to talk about my personal use of or uses of VPN. How do I use VPN in my daily life, and how do I use it when I'm traveling, when I'm in an airplane, when I'm at a cafe, or when I'm outside of my home network? How do I use it to get access to all my lab that I have behind me or all my data center? So thank you for being live with me. Say hi in the chat. I see a couple people already. Lionel, Rene, hi. I'm really good, Lionel. Thank you so much. I am live at the same time on Facebook and YouTube. If you watch me on Facebook, say hi in the chat and also help me share the world. Share the word about KBTrainings. Share my message, share my videos. It helped me in growing the channel. And if you're on YouTube as well, make sure you share and you like the video. Hi, Eve. Happy to join again. Thank you, Eve. Eve was with me in my French live early today on KBTrainings en français, where I only speak in French. But now Eve is also joining us in the English version of the live. Thank you for being with us. Do not forget to like the video and share the video as well. A little bit of housekeeping before getting into the subject or into the topic today. The CCNA 200-301 is the best CCNA course or trainings available online. It's on kbtrainings.com or en.kbtrainings.com for the English version. If you speak French, you can go on fr.kbtrainings.com. You're going to get the French and the English version on there as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at contact@kbtrainings.com. What's going on? Wait, guys, I think something is off with my camera over there. Give me a second. Okay, let's see. Nope. Okay, all right. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that camera was not set up. I think, yeah, it's been a while since I did a live in English. That's why that one was not set yet. I went in vacation to Kinshasa in Africa for a couple days. That's why my whole setup was a little all over the place. But thank you for bearing with me. So yeah, the CCNA is there. We do meetings every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I meet with the students. We discuss the training. I answer some of your questions. But we have a community online where you can answer or you can ask any questions. And anybody in the community, including me, will be able to respond. And that's how you get the support. So it's really good community, very tight community where we study together and I help you get to know the CCNA, which is a very good certification to start boost your career in the tech field. All right. Other than that, I have a lot of trainings that are coming. I will be creating a training on Fortinet Administrator exam. I'm going to create a training on that. It's all going to be on en.kbtrainings.com. Make sure you follow me on social media at Gibisuku and KBTrainings so you are in touch of what's going on. And also you can join my mailing list so you get notified when I have a new training that drops on the website. All right. Thank you, Gilles B. Yes, another very interesting live. Exactly. So today we're going to talk about VPN. I have my screen here ready to go. This is the few things we're going to talk about today. I am going to talk about what is a VPN. I'm going to talk about site-to-site and remote access and the different protocols of types of VPN that you can find out there, IPsec, SSL, OpenVPN, WireGuard. And then we are going to talk about VPN versus ZTNA. What is the difference or what should you use? You're going to hear ZTNA a lot these days, and I'm going to tell you what it is and how it can be used in production with VPN or without using a VPN. So we can see what are the differences between those two types of connections or two ways to access infrastructures inside your network. First of all, VPN means virtual private network. And if we want to go from the very beginning, you have an idea of what a LAN is, or local area network, you might also have an idea of what a WAN is, or a wide area network. Of course, local area network is local, private, inside a certain geography or certain building or location. WAN is wide area network. It's usually public. It's built by an ISP or an internet service provider. It can go from town to town. It can go from city to city. Wide area network. It can go globally. It can go from America all the way to South Africa. So this is how you get the internet, which is the network of networks. It's all the networks connected together. So now, let's say you are a company, you are a bank, and your bank has different offices across the country. Let's say you are in America, for example, or maybe I should, what country can I use? Let's say you are in, let's just go with America. You have offices in New York, NYC. You have offices there. Actually, New York is where your headquarters are. So you have a big building in New York, and you also have a little room in in New York, that is your data center. So in that room, you have all your applications. You have a bunch of servers. So this is a server room. And this is where you host your servers and you host some of your applications. Let's say you use SAP, for example. You use your HR application. You use applications like QuickBooks or QuickBook for your accounting. I don't even know if QuickBook has an option for enterprise, but let's say these are the applications that you have running on your servers, and you have Active Directory or AD running on your servers here in New York. This is the data center. So, as a huge bank, you also have offices in LA, LAX. You also have offices in, let's say, what other major city? In Seattle. So this is an office in LA. This is an office in Seattle. And in New York, you have a LAN. Let's say you have just a single LAN. Usually you have multiple LANs with a lot of VLANs. But here in this case, let's say your LAN in New York is 10.0.0.0/24. This is the LAN in New York, and this is the same LAN that you use in a data center. Let's say, for example, your Active Directory server is probably 10.0.0.2/24. So, and then you have LAX, which is considered branch number 1 or office number 1. So we're going to call it branch 1 and this branch 2. And then, of course, behind inside your office in LA, you have a bunch of people working here, just like you have people in New York as well. And they have their own network. So this one would be 10.1.0.0/24. That's the local network for LA. And then you have a local network in in Seattle, 10.2.0.0/24. So now, these guys sitting in LA and Seattle also want to have access to the same applications that you have running in your data center in New York. And of course, there is the internet with an ISP. It might be Comcast, CenturyLink, Spectrum, or whatever you have, or AT&T. So you have connections going from your data centers. I think I need to remove this upper section here. I think it's creating a little bit of a mess here. So we understood what the LAN and the WAN is, and I'm going to explain it. So I'm just want to remove this part. So actually, if we want to mention the internet is here. This is the internet actually. And then we have Seattle also connected to an ISP, which means that the people sitting here and there can, of course, have access to the internet. They can go to google.com, for example. They can go to en.kbtrainings.com to get their trainings. But at the same time, they also want to have access to the applications. They want to have access to 10.0.0.2. Then how do they do that? The company has a couple options. The first option would be to talk to an ISP. Some of these companies that I mentioned, like Comcast, Spectrum, CenturyLink, and so on, or Lumen. They're called Lumen now. So they can talk, or if you are in Europe, you have France Telecom, Dutch Telecom, Orange, whatever. So you can talk to those companies to give you private connections between your different sites. So they can build you a connection from site to site. It comes in different ways as well. It can be like an MPLS connection where they use the magic of MPLS to create some overlay network connecting your different sites, and it's going to give you connection, the connection between the different sites as if you had cables connected to those sites altogether. It might even be dark fiber, for example. They can give you fiber because ISPs have fibers across countries, across cities, or even continents. So they can connect you at layer 2 or at layer 3. That's one option. So MPLS or dark fiber, these options are good. They can be used today, but they are very... Let me see if I can change my color here. One moment. Where is my pen? Where is it actually? Oh, I don't have it. I can change color here. I can come and pick red. Okay, cool. So these are expensive. Even though they are good, sometimes with this kind of connections, they can guarantee you a certain speed. You have better SLAs. SLAs, that means the... let's see, is this one? Can I change the color on this one as well? Okay, so I'm going to keep these two. Is that one able to change? So yeah, let's do green, blue, and red. Perfect. I like OneNote. SLAs means service level agreements, which means that they have a certain minimum that they guarantee to your company. They'll tell you that your connection will always be, let's say, 10 gigabit per second. Your latency will be this, and you define some metrics that are going to be respected or matched by the provider. That's what's called SLA that you can sign with the provider. MPLS, expensive, dark fiber, and so on. These are services you get from the ISP to connect your site, which means that you can now have a connectivity between, let's say if you have MPLS, because we put it in red, MPLS can be connecting your New York site to your LA site, connecting your Seattle site to your New York site. If you want, you can even have a connection between LA and New York. And this is MPLS. You create what is called an MPLS cloud, and then those sites can talk to each other, which means that if you have traffic from New York, if you have a guy sitting in LA, he can have access to the Active Directory server in Seattle or in New York. Sorry. If you have a guy in Seattle, he can have access to Active Directory in New York. He can also have access to SAP, HR, and QuickBook, all the applications that you are running inside your data center. So now you have private connectivity between these sites. This is what you can get from the ISP, but you have better options as well. Today, a lot of companies have better connectivity to the internet. They usually have, I don't know, even if you have 100 meg, that's a lot of bandwidth. 100 megabit per second can be hard to fill depending on what you do, but it's very common to find 1 gigabit per second of speed or even 10 gigabit per second inside a location or at a location today. So you don't actually have to buy these services. These services were actually very good back then when we had T1s, for example, that were running at 1.5 megabit per second. But now that we have high speed between these locations and the internet, you don't have to buy these expensive services. You build VPN tunnels between these sites, for example. And then what is a VPN? This is, let me remove the MPLS that we have here. That should go. A VPN in our situation here is a private tunnel. It's a tunnel that is created between these different sites over the internet. And again, MPLS and dark fiber, it doesn't go to the internet. It's private. It's segregated. It's kept different or separate from all the other dirty traffic that is happening on the internet. And you know the internet is full of everybody. Whatever you do on the internet can be monitored by a bad actor. It's public, literally. Unless you have some kind of protection. And of course, here in New York, we have a firewall. It can be anything. It can be a FortiGate. It can be a Cisco ASA or Cisco Firepower. It can be a Palo Alto. It can be a checkpoint. So you have a firewall here. And usually in an enterprise, you want to be in the same ecosystem. You want your firewalls to match. You can, of course, you still have possibility to create VPNs between firewalls that are different. But when you want to make your management easy, you need to have the same firewalls at your locations so you can easily manage them. So if you have FortiGate, you should have a FortiGate in New York and have a FortiGate in LA and also have another FortiGate in Seattle, which means that you can now create a virtual private network. As the name says, it's virtual. So it goes over the public internet and it's going to create tunnels between the different sites. So it's going to create a tunnel between New York and LA. It's going to create a tunnel between LA and New York and Seattle. And you can also even create a tunnel between LA and Seattle. Usually in the case of FortiGate, for example, this tunnel doesn't need to be permanent. It can be temporary, like an AD VPN connection that is auto discovery VPN that can be built or tear down depending on the traffic that is happening between LA and Seattle. So this is a VPN that you can create. And this is the first use of VPN. It's called site to site, which means we are connecting the New York site to the LA site. We're connecting New York to Seattle. We can connect LA to Seattle. And it's virtual private network. It's literally just an encrypted tunnel where you are now protected by a certain encryption, and not everybody on the internet will be able to see what is flowing inside of that tunnel. So your tunnel is free. It's private, it's protected, and you use one of these protocols here, one of these different mechanisms to create this tunnel and to connect your sites. Once you do that, then the guys here at Seattle can talk to the data center. The guys at LA can talk to the data center, and life is good for you because that's how business is supposed to work. And the good thing with VPNs like this for enterprise or for companies is that you don't pay as much. You don't pay as much as you would have paid if you had MPLS. You still have good connectivity as long as your internet connection is good. And that's why sometimes a lot of companies these days, you don't even have to, you can have 2 different providers or even 3 or as many as you want. So you can build tunnels on many providers so that you are protected if any of them fails, because with the internet, there's barely an SLA. So the company doesn't guarantee you any specific speed. Of course, they're going to give you a number, 1 gig per second. But like me here at my home, I'm supposed to have 1 gig, but usually I may have like 600 meg or megabit per second, or even sometimes I have more than 1 gig. So it can fluctuate. But the good thing is, as long as the connection is up, if I have a VPN that is up, I am going to have enough speed to be able to communicate. And the speed will generally not be the same as your line speed. Let's say you have 1 gigabit per second that you're supposed to have with your ISP. And in reality, you may have 800 megabit per second. And if you build a VPN, depending on the protocol that you are using, you may have, 500 megabit per second inside the tunnel, because there are some overheads associated with the VPN negotiation and encryption and the tunneling and everything. So it can be slightly slower than what your actual bandwidth is. And this is where I'm going to tell you the advantage of ZTNA is that you don't have to, your bandwidth doesn't shrink, because ZTNA is just a wide open connection, but with some level of security built in. So this is what a VPN is. This is what a site-to-site VPN is. It helps connected one site to another site. Generally, in a company or in an enterprise, you have many sites. You connect those sites primarily to a data center, or you can connect those sites among themselves. You can create any kind of topology here. It can be a mesh topology where each site is connected to every other site. That's up to you. That's up to you as an engineer or as a designer to see what works for you. But in general, it's usually going from a site to a data center. And also, I mean, like I said, the design can vary. Let's say we may have 4 sites here. Out of these 4, this one might be, let's say, the headquarter, and we're gonna call this the hub. Usually call it the hub. And if you want a simple hub-spoke topology, you can have just connections to the hub. Like all the sites are connected to the hub. And sometimes if the sites want to talk to each other, they can go through the hub to go to the secondary site. That's how it works sometimes, depending on how you design it. But like I said, if you have a technology like ADVPN or DMVPN or AutoVPN, I think that's how Cisco calls it with the Meraki. I think it's AutoVPN. I don't know, I'm not sure. So with ADVPN, for example, if I have a connection going from this site to the hub, if I'm now trying to reach this site here, the first packet will go through the hub to that site, but the following packets, the other packets will go straight to the site with what is called a shortcut. This is an ADVPN connection created between these two. And when these two sites are silent, there is no traffic, this connection is going to be teared down and closed, or it will be disconnected. Let's see if there's anything else I can say about site to site. That's it. And you are going to manage the routing just how you want it. This is going to be just like sites connected with cables. You can use BGP on top of this if you want to distribute or share all these routes between the different sites. BGP is a good candidate. Sometimes you can use an internal gateway protocol like OSPF or ISIS. That's up to you. But generally, with 4DNet, for example, if you use a 4D manager to deploy an SD-WAN infrastructure, that's something I need to talk about, SD-WAN. If you use an SD-WAN with a 4D manager, the routing protocol that will be used will be BGP. So the tunnels themselves will be IPsec tunnels. And I'm going to talk about the different types of tunnels really soon. IPsec tunnels will be used, and BGP will be your routing protocol to share all the routes between the site. I think this is probably a good time to talk about different protocols. Or let me talk about SD-WAN first. Like I said, the old ways of doing things is to have MPLS, to have dark fiber, to have some kind of layer 3 VPN provided by an ISP or a service provider. But now that you can use these VPNs, that is the fundamental concept behind SD-WAN. SD-WAN, you might have heard of it, of course, software-defined WAN. And WAN, I mentioned it earlier, wide area network. So now we put some intelligence on top of it. We define it with software. So we put algorithms that are going to be able to help us manage all of this. SD-WAN is primarily based on VPN. So you connect all your sites using VPNs, generally just over the internet. But it can also use MPLS. MPLS can be part of SD-WAN as well. It's a connection. You can use it if you have it, but you don't have to, because you can build VPNs to all your sites that you have. And then there's always some kind of concentrator or some kind of controller. That's what I meant. So the controller will be what is managing your different sites that you have, and then it's going to build VPNs between those sites. And then SD-WAN will help manage your connection between sites by, applying some intelligence to it. Let me explain a little more here. Let's say I have same example: NYC data center, Seattle, LA. Let's add another city here, Miami. So this is your hub, for example. And at the hub, you have a data center behind it. This is where you have your SD-WAN controller. Let's say if I have FortiGate, it's probably, if I have Fortinet, it's probably my FortiManager. FortiManager, or I can just do FMG. I love Fortinet. That's why I'm talking about Fortinet all the time. So FMG or your FortiManager. What's going to happen is that since these sites are all connected to the internet, they know what the IP of the FortiManager is. So inside the FortiManager, you have all these sites: NYC, Seattle, LA or LAX, and Miami. So all these sites are managed through the FortiManager. They know what the FortiManager is, and they know where it's located by its IP address. So the FortiManager has control over this site. So if you want to deploy an SD-WAN infrastructure from the FortiManager, you can now very easily, with a couple clicks and configurations, you can create templates and create configurations, and you can easily, with a few clicks, deploy those configurations to all these sites, including the hub, including New York. And at the end of it, you're going to have IPsec connectivity between New York and Seattle, between New York and LA, between New York and Miami. You're also going to have these AD-VPN that are possible between these different sites. It's a full mesh. So then inside your sites, you're going to have what is called SD-WAN zones. A zone is just an interface where you add members. Those members are going to be used for traffic routing, and the members can be IPsec VPN or VPNs. The members can be an MPLS connection. The members can also be WAN connection. And I need to say something about this. For SD-WAN, there are two terms that you need to know. There is the first term is an underlay. No, let me start with before going to the overlay, I need to mention underlay first. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. You have underlay and you have overlay. So when it comes to SD-WAN, the underlay network, or if you heard underlay link, that is the basic primary physical link that you actually have. In our case, that is the WAN connection. The physical internet connection that you have on your site, that is the underlay connection. That is the underlay network. And then on top of the underlay, you can build the overlay network. The overlay network is actually the logical network. All those VPN tunnels that you have built on the underlay, that is the overlay network. So underlay is WAN, overlay is VPN, or I think MPLS too. MPLS can be considered overlay network. So underlay is the public connections, and overlay are the VPNs. So now when you have traffic leaving Seattle, for example, with the intelligence of SD-WAN, Seattle has, let's say, for example, Seattle has 3 connections: WAN, MPLS, which we don't need actually, and then VPN. Now, if we have traffic, we can define rules. And I've talked about SD-WAN on this channel with Fortinet specifically. You can now define SD-WAN rules on how to manage your traffic. If you have traffic coming for Teams, for example, teams.com or any kind of website, where do you send it? Do you send it on your WAN connection? Is it public internet? Do you send it on your VPN? Does it go to your data center? Do you send it on your MPLS? Does it go to your data center or any other site? So now you define those rules that will help you intelligently manage your traffic that is coming out of your site or coming to your site. You'll be able to do that using SD-WAN. That's basically what it is. So SD-WAN is just a bunch of VPN tunnels that you manage in a single location, in our case with the FortiManager, and then you deploy it, and then the sites can now connect between among themselves. They can build or destroy AD-VPN tunnels or dynamic tunnels, and that's what it is in general. But there's more to that than just what I said. Actually, I've been asked to create some trainings. I think I'm going to create a full training on SD1, for example, it's probably going to be on my website. And if you don't follow me, make sure you follow me on social media at KBTrainings or Gibi Sukuf, my personal account. You can also follow me. You can also be part of my newsletter if you go on my website, en.kbtrans.com. Make sure you sign up there. I'll be able to send you notification when there is any new training available. And so I think that's all for SD1. SD1 is very used these days. All the companies, all the main tech companies have some type of SD1 they deploy. Some of them have really like native good SD1 that comes with the box, like Fortinet does it. SD1 comes with any Fortinet or FortiGate appliance that you buy, or even FortiGate VMs. Cisco has its own way of doing SD1. Palo Alto has it, so all the companies have that. I think before going to before talking about remote access, I can say a quick thing about the different tunnels. I mean, the different protocols that can be used. These are the protocols. The main protocols that you're going to find. Oh, sorry, I was actually writing on the screen. The main protocols that you're going to find used for VPN are primarily IPsec. IPsec, I would say, is the most popular and I would say most secure as well. It's very widely used in enterprise IPsec tunnels. I'm not going to go into specific details about these protocols. You can read more about them. Actually, I'm going to share this link with you. This link that is up here from Palo Alto's website. It's going to tell you or to give you details on all these different VPN tunnels. And then you have SSLVPN. SSL is also a good way to create VPNs. Even though it's not my favorite, usually I've always used IPsec for VPN. And each protocol has its strength and weaknesses. There's also OpenVPN, very popular as well. I mean, not so popular, but for mostly remote access and things like that, it's also being used a lot. WireGuard is also an option. I've created a video, I think, on this channel showing you how to configure OpenVPN on, was it WireGuard? I think I've created on both. I created a video on OpenVPN and a video on WireGuard. You have tons of ways to create VPNs. These are the main ones. Like I said, IPsec is primarily used in enterprise. You're going to see it a lot. SSL is also very used, but I don't recommend it a lot. And sometimes companies do not recommend it. IPsec is actually good. SSL is an option if you want to. So you can read more about it if you want. And then I'm going to finish with ZTNA against VPN to show you the difference. But before going there, let me talk about remote access. Remote access, as the name says, it helps you accessing remote resources. For example, let's say, make it simple. I like to draw on this thing. So let's just go with that same company, but there's just a lot here. It's kind of hard to see, but let's go here and draw again. So you have your New York City offices with your data center, with all your applications, SAP, QuickBook, HR. I don't even know if there's an application called HR, but okay, let's do Active Directory too. And then you have Seattle, LAX, Miami. You have the public internet. You have all these sites connected to the internet. And of course, we assume that we already have site-to-site connection between these sites. So the people that are in Seattle, they don't need anything extra because Seattle is already connected to the data center. All they have to do is being inside the building and they have access to the data center. But then let's say there is a guy called Bob and he's working from home. Bob is working from home. How is Bob going to access the company's infrastructure? Bob can create what is called a remote access VPN. I mean, the remote access is actually what Bob is doing, but what he's going to create is just an IPsec tunnel or an SSL tunnel or any kind of protocols that we saw there. So he's going to create a tunnel between his computer and the New York firewall. That's how he will have access to private information or private applications that are inside our data center. As simple as that. Without any VPN tunnel, Bob will be like anybody else on the internet. He won't see anything inside the company. And of course, when you are deploying your servers inside the company, some servers can be public, like your web server, for example, like any other service that you want people to use over the internet, primarily web services. And you have some services that are private, or some servers that are private, like your HR server, Active Directory, or Windows Server, or SAP. These are private resources. So for public resources, anybody can access, anybody on the internet can go to it. For private, you need to create some kind of connections between you and your workstation and the data center. That is where remote access VPN plays a huge role. Mostly after COVID or during COVID, a lot of people started working from home. This is how you work from home. All you need is public internet access with a good enough speed. When I say good enough, it depends on how you define it. But if you have, let's say 5 megabit per second is already kind of defined good, because with 5 megabit, you can do calls, you can do video calls if you want. If they are not very high resolution, you can do video calls with 5 megabit per second. So if you have a public internet, you can connect to your company's infrastructure using a VPN. And usually on your workstation, you can create VPNs natively inside your operating system. Let's say you have Windows, you have Mac, whatever, you can create a VPN natively on your OS. Or you can use a VPN agent. VPN agent, it depends on the company that you use. Each company has its own agent. Fortinet, for example, has 40 clients. Cisco has, I think, AnyConnect. Palo Alto, I'm not even sure. But I know Global Connect is what? Global Connect is it Palo Alto or F5? I'm not sure. But clients are actually created to make everything easier for you, the network administrator, to deploy your configurations to connect to your data center. So all you have to do is push those config or install those configs in the VPN client, and they're going to be deployed. There are also solutions that you can use to manage all these clients in scale. At Fortinet, for example, we have EMS, or Endpoint Management System, or server. Actually, I think it's server. Endpoint Management Server. This is a server that is going to manage all your 40 client deployments. And you can push or change configurations on your client using the EMS. And the EMS is going to be also a big part of ZTNA when we talk about ZTNA later on. So EMS can help you push that. Of course, clients are made for all kind of OSs or systems. You have clients made for Android. You have clients made for iOS, for macOS, for Linux. So each of these operating systems can have clients made for them, so you can connect to your infrastructure, your enterprise without any problem. Before talking about my uses of VPNs, let's talk about VPN versus ZTNA. ZTNA means Zero Trust Network Access. It's part of the broader concept called ZTA, or Zero Trust Access, that a lot of companies are implementing today. There are some principles that come with Zero Trust. I can't list all of them, but few of them are never trust, always verify. What are other ones? Assume breach, I think. I forgot the others. I wasn't prepared for ZTA today, but never trust, always verify means that you don't trust anybody. Anybody, inside or outside, you don't trust anybody. You always verify who's there, who's talking, why are you talking, for how long are you going to talk. That's ZTA. Assume breach means that every time in your operations, you need to assume that there is a breach in your system. There's somebody in your system that you want to keep out. So you need to be very restrictive with your accesses. That's what ZTNA is. So ZTNA is just an application of that. And again, going back to our example, at this point, you know all the offices, New York City with my applications, SAP, HR, QuickBook, and then we have Seattle, LA, and of course the public internet. The old way of doing it is that you create a VPN from, let's say somebody's working from home. Now we're talking about this guy, Bob, working from home. So if you create a VPN between Bob and your New York firewall, which is a FortiGate, now Bob has access to what is inside. Some few things are wrong with the VPN. Usually, once you open a VPN, you open it to the whole network for somebody. Like you open it to a whole subnet. Let's say, for example, in my firewall, I can create some rules saying that if Bob is coming with this IPsec connection, whatever, put him in the network 10.0.0.0/24. And Bob can actually access everything in that network. Of course, you can be restrictive if you want, but in general, that's what it is. When you have a VPN, it opens you to all the subnets, and that's not good. And also, when it's built, it stays up all the time. It's going to be up for as long as Bob is up. Sometimes you can set some lifetime to make sure you disconnect, but usually with the traditional VPN, it stays on. But the thing that's happening is that now, and I also told you about the speed that can be reduced because there is a VPN, all the overhead with encryption, tunneling, and everything. The speed is going to be reduced going from, let's say, 1 gig per second to like 700 megabits per second. But what you can do now is use ZTNA. How do you use ZTNA? I'm going to use a use case with Fortinet, for example. What's going to happen is that you have here in the data center or somewhere else in the cloud. And again, these applications can be physically located in a data center, or they can also be in the cloud. And with all the major cloud provider like AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, IBM or whatever, or of even Alibaba. So they have clouds and you can have your applications in the cloud. At that point, it doesn't matter because you still need to have some kind of gateway or a firewall to protect your cloud infrastructure, and you can build VPN to this firewall as well. So it's the same thing. Just want to mention that it can be in the cloud. So instead of Bob building a VPN to the firewall to get to the SAP, our EMS server, endpoint management server, is going to manage the Forti client that is installed on Bob's computer. It's going to share some few informations, including a certificate, some tags, and some kind of information. I'm not going to bring all the details here we talk about ZTNA sometime in the future, but some information will be shared with the Forti client depending on the stature or the security posture of the device. Let's say, for example, we want to make sure that the device has an antivirus. The device is actually, first of all, provided by the company. The first thing that happens when you bring on board a new employee is that you give him a laptop. In most companies, they will give you a company-provided laptop, and that laptop is listed somewhere, and it should come with a VPN client. So the EMS will keep track of all the endpoints or all the laptops that were given to employees. Like when I joined Fortinet, I literally got my Fortinet laptop and I was able to connect to Fortinet infrastructure because it's recognized by Fortinet. And in this situation, you have EMS and you have the FortiGate that is also here at the New York site. The FortiGate is also connected to the EMS. So EMS is going to share those details with the FortiGate. So now at this point, the FortiGate should be able to recognize and trust this endpoint from Bob because it knows that the endpoint is coming from our company. It's listed in the EMS and it also has the right tags. So what's going to happen is that the FortiGate is going to act as a proxy, which means that an application like SAP can be publicly exposed through the FortiGate. Of course, not wide open like a web server, But the FortiGate or the Forti client will use a certain FQDN to access SAP through the FortiGate. When the FortiGate receives the request, it's first going to verify the certificate from the Forti client. It's also going to make sure the endpoint has all the right tags and everything. And if everything looks good, the FortiGate is now going to let this endpoint go straight to the SAP application wide openly, like just generally you'll use HTTPS protocol for these applications. They're usually web applications, and HTTPS is already secured with SSL or TLS. So you don't worry about encryptions or anything because your traffic is private. But now the FortiGate, since the device is recognized, the user on the device is authenticated. That's something also really important you need to know. The user needs to be authenticated. And usually when we talk authentication, we also need to add multi-factor authentication, MFA or 2FA, with either the pop-up application or the OTP or one-time password. So now, after authenticating the device and the user, the FortiGate can now give you access to SAP directly as if you were inside the network. That's zero trust network access. It's really good. People use it a lot. I use it a lot in my daily life. When I work, I don't actually build VPN tunnels. I don't remember the last time I had to bring up the tunnel to work because my computer is already recognized by the company. Every time I open it, when I go to the web browser, I'm trying to access a certain internal application at the company. Usually it gives me some kind of certificate that I need to accept and install on my browser. And then I have connectivity to that application. I authenticate and I go without any problem. So ZTNA is a replacement of VPN, the old way of doing it. But I'm not saying VPN is completely gone. VPN is still around. A lot of companies are using VPN, but ZTNA is huge today, and it actually makes things very easy because I think it makes me very productive. Like I can just open my laptop as long as I'm connected. I go online, I work as if I was inside the company, as if I had a VPN tunnel, but I actually don't. And I'm going to make videos about ZTNA as well, showing you how to configure ZTNA. That will be part of my big lab that I'm in the middle of building right now. I don't know. I think I mentioned it before. All right, that's ZTNA. The next thing I want to talk about is just how I use VPN. Generally, I personally use a FortiGate 71F as my home firewall. So my home network is behind a FortiGate. So when I'm outside of my home, I have a Forti client and I build IPsec VPN to my home network. So all this infrastructure behind me, all my data center, my ESXi, everything running behind it can be easily accessed if I have a Forti client running and I have a VPN tunnel to my home network. It's actually IPsec. That's really good because sometimes I might be at a cafe, for example. It's much easier to do this so my traffic is protected, and also I can RDP to my Windows computer that is sitting here and work as if I was home. Same thing when I'm traveling. If I'm in an airplane, for example, I travel usually with United, and I always get those United Wi-Fi internet. I usually build a tunnel to go around some restrictions on United flights, and it's really good because sometimes if you have the basic, I think the basic option for internet, you only have messaging. And if you have a VPN, they won't be able to see what you do, so you can make calls, you can do videos, everything with an IPsec tunnel that's inside the airplane. I mean, that from the airplane. And I go to Africa a lot. And the thing is that sometimes when I'm outside of the US, I have troubles accessing some of my services. Zelle, for example, I was surprised to learn that even though from Kinshasa, I was able to open my Chase Bank app, but I was not able to do Zelle because it was literally telling me that I'm actually going to make maybe a reel about it, post on Instagram because I recorded it. I was surprised. It was like, hey, you are outside of our jurisdiction or whatever. Zelle doesn't work here. That was the message. So what do I do in that case? I build an IPsec tunnel to my home network with my phone, and then the bank will see my American IP. What's happening is that when I'm in Africa and I'm connecting, they can see that I am in Africa based on my IP address. But if I create a VPN tunnel and I connect to my home network, I can exit and go to the internet with my home IP, and that's good for them because they think I'm in America because I am coming with an American IP address. That's how I use VPN, and that's also how all these other VPN services work, like NordVPN, which I actually have an affiliate link for them. I'm going to leave it in the chat. You can have like 70% off if you use my link with NordVPN or EasyVPN, all those other VPN services. All they do is that they have a VPN server somewhere, and once you connect to that server, you exit from there, and companies like Netflix, YouTube, whatever, they think you are in that country where the server is, even though you are originating your traffic from a very different zone on the globe, like on the planet. That's how these services work. So yeah, people have used this specifically to create VPN services that they can sell to others. I can also mention split tunnel, because when I'm outside like this, when I'm at the cafe and I connect my phone to my home network, I can choose to carry all my traffic to my home network or to my home FortiGate before going out to the internet, or I can choose to only carry private traffic, like my home network is 10.35.0.0/24. I can use only to route that home network traffic through the tunnel, and then the public IP or the public traffic like Google will go straight out without using the tunnel. And sometimes that's what you want if you want to have faster public internet and also have access to your private infrastructure. But if you want to have secure access through a VPN through a single location, you need to I think disable split tunnel. I don't know if it's enabled or disabled. I think it's disabled. Yeah, when you disable it, it doesn't split the tunnel. It goes straight to the same location. But when you have it enabled, it splits. The private goes in the tunnel. The public goes out to the internet straight without any problem. What else do I need to mention here? I think that's all. That's all I have to show you about VPN. If you have questions about VPN, make sure you put a question in the chat. And also like the video and share it with your community, and follow me on social media at Gibisuku or KBTrainings. Let me read the chat. I don't have many questions. That's how we have our FortiGate set up. Thank you for the explanation. Yep, that's Luis Gutierrez. Thank you, Luis, subscribing. Perfect. Thank you, Luis. I just got a subscriber. Luis liked what I did. Uro Solutions. Hi, sir. Thanks for sharing. Quick ones. Is MPLS called leased line? I think so. It's been a while. We can look it up. Yeah, I think MPLS is leased line. Yeah, because that's literally what it is. Has Fortinet removed SSL in their newer versions? That's also not true. I mean, that's not true. I think VPN is still available on, SSLVPN is still available on FortiGates with higher memory, with higher physical memory. If you have 4 gigabit or more, you will still have SSLVPN. That's the newer versions. Or if you have less, if you have 2 gig, like the 61F or 41F, whatever, I think it's gone on that. But I need to double check. Let's just go on the internet, and I'm gonna just confirm this leased line thing. Can you explain the overhead on IPsec tunnel and how to adjust for optimum speed? Okay, we can look into that. Where's my... All right. Today in French, I was talking about career and things. That's why I was making these queries. MP is MPLS leased line. Yes. Oh no, my is not the same as leased line. Okay. I'm pretty sure you can see this. Yeah, it's been a while since I heard that term, but yeah. Though they are both used for private connection, MPLS is a network technology that's a leased line, on the other end, a dedicated point-to-point connection that offer private cellular bandwidth and not shared. Okay. Like it says here, so leased line is actually even more private than MPLS. MPLS, you use the same cloud, and usually the companies will separate. We can use many customers on that same MPLS. I think leased line is closer to dark fiber, I guess. And my assumption is also that leased lines are even more expensive than MPLS because they're not shared, and they're just point to point between your devices. So yeah, that's the difference. I stopped being in the telecom for like 6 years now, but yeah, I think that's you got your answer there. And also we can check SSLVPN, but yeah, that's something I need to double check. But for sure, I know that some of the proxy related features were removed from low memory 40 gates, like 2 gig. If you have like what I have here is a 71F, you should be good. I think the 71 has 4 gig of memory, if I'm not mistaken. And can you explain the overhead on IPsec and how to adjust for optimum speed? That's something I never thought about. I would say, yeah, speed will also kind of vary a lot depending on the type of details that you use for phase 1 and phase 2. I really never worried about it unless you have a very low connection and you want to optimize it. And if that's the case, maybe you would have to find a faster protocol. For example, I know that OpenVPN is faster, way faster than IPsec. That's something that I've experienced personally. So maybe you can switch to a different protocol for VPN if you want. But if you are stuck with IPsec, I never really thought of speed when I'm building it. And that can be, actually, I can do some research on it and see if I can bring you an answer. We can talk about IPsec optimization and how you can make sure it's optimized. But in general, if your connection is good enough, those are the kind of things that you wouldn't worry about. Yeah, like I said, I've never really thought about it. Never had the need to. Let me just put... Oh, can I delete all of this? Perfect. I just put your question there. I think I'll look at it. Abiodum Odewale. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching. I think you loved it. I hope you got something from it. And I will take some time to look into some of these questions and bring you more details on that. That was all for today. Thank you guys for watching. And if you love what I do, don't forget to like the video on YouTube and subscribe to the channel so you can come every time, hang out with me in my lab. I usually mix between career advice and technical stuff, and I bring you in my data center or in my lab to do way more stuff. ZTN is coming, Fortinet is coming, a lot is coming on this channel. Thank you. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Like the video, guys. Thank you, Nick Simmer. I love your videos. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening or night or morning, depending on where you are. I know people are watching me worldwide. So have a good day where you are, and I'll see you next time. Take care and bye.